So you probably don't know this, but like prior to COVID, RPR. I was in Chicago at an NAR convention, and one of the speakers that we had come speak to the executive board in the LVR suite was RPR. And they said, you guys don't use RPR in Las Vegas. And I, being the sweet person I am, said,
Janet,
well,
use the microphone for Beta.
Oh.
Are you ready?
You want me to start over?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you how this all came about. So it was 2 years ago, maybe longer. I was at the NAR convention in Chicago. And we had a number of speakers, a number of our vendors come to the LVR suite and speak to the executive board. And one of the people that came happened to be, well, actually 3 of them, from RPR. And they said, you people in Las Vegas don't use RPR. And he said, you pay for it in your dues. And I said, well, maybe. It's because no one has ever had a training class in Las Vegas on RPR. Well, they didn't like that very much. And so they pulled me aside after they were through and said, we're going to set up a training class. Well, it took them about 9 months. And they had 2 training classes. One was for agents, half a day. And then there was a half a day for train the trainer. So I made Linda go. And I think she stayed all day for the class and the train the trainer class. So now we have a trainer that's been trained. So she started doing a couple of RPR classes in the office that were not very well attended. Then COVID hit, and then I had a new agent come to me and say, if I get a listing appointment, I don't have anything to use for a listing presentation. I said, oh, yes, you do. So I went into RPR and showed her how you could pull out a really nice listing report. Depending on how anal your client is, you can either get the short version, 12 pages, or if they're very detailed and analytical, you can get up to 80 pages. And you can print them in color, and it has charts and comps and everything. And I thought, we need to have a class because we haven't had one in 2 years. So I called Linda. I said, Linda, we need to do an RPR class. Well, she is the one who came up with, let's do the whole thing. How to get more listings. Let's use all the resources that we have for a listing. So we have our own Linda Stewart. We have Marie Herod from Equity Title. And then we have our own Shelley Panzarella from Prosperity Home Lending. And we're going to start with Marie.
Actually, I'm going to take just a second before Marie starts because I just want to say a couple things. The packet that you got has lots of information about all the things that we're talking about. The first thing will be Remine, which is basically helping you get those leads so you have something to go after for a listing. The second thing will be me talking about RPR, and we're going to do a little I like to get people involved so that they know how to do things when they get done rather than me just sit there in a chair showing them how to do it. So you got an extra piece of paper, and we're going to use that to basically pretend. I've gotten the approval of the agent who has that property expired, and it's currently occupied by a tenant. So as soon as the tenant gets back, they're going to relist it, so nobody try and think, oh, this is an expired listing, I can go get that listing. It's an agent, it's Glenn Wild actually had the listing, and I talked to him last night and he gave me permission. So what we're going to do is using that as our subject property, we're going to create a CMA, and if you notice on the bottom of that single piece of paper, there's other properties that we can decide to use as a comp or not. So once I'm done with that, it shouldn't be more than about 10 minutes for each of us. Then Shelley's going to talk about 2 products. I know she had a class for list reports after the office meeting. If anybody was there for that, this will be kind of a repeat, but on a much shorter version. She's also going to talk about Homebot, which I use religiously for all of my clients that have been clients forever. It gives a nice, soft something to people every month. It's called a digest, and it's not like you're hitting them over the head, list with me all the time, but it's there and it keeps them in your mind. And when they reach out or they're on their system there, it comes to both Shelley and to me, because both of those have to be done through you, don't they, Shelley? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, and then we're gonna, in between and whenever you want to, it's really a casual kind of a thing. So there is, thanks to Shelley and Marie, beverages that are adult variety and lots of food over there. So please help yourselves. Don't worry about us. We're going to be sitting down most of the time because you're going to be looking at that screen as we do different things. And so now, without further ado, here's Marie.
Thank you. All right, so many of you probably know I am not a realtor, but I have tons of good realtor friends that help me out. So for those of you that have worked with your title companies, whichever title companies that is, you guys order farms. You've done it before. You've done it for years. We've ordered farms. Well, a lot of the title companies, most of them, they can now get emails and phone numbers. There is no special site to go put someone's name in and you get their email, right? So we have third parties, all the title companies that go digging to try to get emails. Some of them are good, some of them are not good. Same with phone numbers, right? I can't just put someone's name in and get every piece of information about them. But they generally get about 70% of the emails and the phone numbers. And probably of that 70%, your 20% probably aren't that great, or they're going to bounce back. But I want to show you guys how on your dashboard for MLS, which you pay for, you have Remind. Remind can look up a person and give you their contact information. It can look up an address, and then you can pull the whole area and get emails and phone numbers. So you can do that in about 5 minutes. It takes us 2 days to get that stuff to you guys. So if you decide to do an open house, if you decide that there's an area that you want to market, again, you can always call your marketing reps. No matter what title company you're using, they will happily get you that. But you can go on yourself. You pay for it. So as opposed to waiting for somebody to get that for you for 2 days, I'm going to show you a couple of quick things. Remember, I'm not a realtor. So there's a ton of stuff that Remind can do. They had a class on June the 22nd. So if you do see that that pops up when you log into the MLS, that there's a class, I would encourage you guys to jump on and take that. I'm going to show you quickly, again, how to locate a person, how to look up a property, and how to pull an area to get that information. So I'm going to sit down so I can mess with the computer. So you guys just take a glance up here. And let's pretend first that someone came into your open house, right? You got their name from the open house, but you want to know a little bit more about them, right? Like, do they really own that home? How can I reach them? They gave me a bad phone number. They gave me no one does that, right? But when you can't reach them, check in here and see what you can find out. So let's go first. I just went to the Remind tab. When you log on to the MLS and you've got that big dashboard where the CoreLogic button is, you're going to hit the Remind button. And now we're just going to go over on the left side to search. Obviously, we're going to search, right, regardless of person, property, whatever that is. Up at the top, I'm going to type in someone's name that came to my open house yesterday. Well, look, she popped up with her address. If I click on that, I now have her phone, multiple phone numbers, and also an email address for her. Maybe that's the email address they gave you. Maybe it's not the email address they gave you. If you look over here, it'll tell you that's currently not on the market, the home that she owns. Gives you some information about bedrooms, bathrooms, just about her home, right? She came to an open house, so now you can reach out to her in the off chance that she gave you incorrect information or you couldn't get through to her. So super easy. The add to contacts, that will go into your GLVAR or your LVR CRM. So if you don't use that, I probably wouldn't add to those contacts because it's going to go in a spot, and if you're not using it, then that's not really going to be very helpful to you if you're not using that one. So looking up a person, everybody good? Super easy, right?
There's also a piece of paper on the back of that packet for notes for all three of the people that are speaking. If you have notes or, you.
Question?
Yeah.
Can I put in an address and get the same?
We're doing that right now. So now let's say that you're going to go do an open house. You're going to go do one on Saturday. You want to let the neighborhood know that you're going to do that. Typically, you would call your marketing rep at your title company. They would get you information. But let's say you didn't want to do that. Let's say it was the day before. I know none of you decide to do an open house the day before you do it. But in the off chance that you do, you can go in yourself and pull that information. So I'm going to type in an address. This is where I'm going to do my open house this weekend.
And while she's doing that, let me say that if you have a question, raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone to you because we are live. And we're going to have this in the resource page so you can watch it later, so you don't have to take notes if you really don't want to. You can watch it again and stop and start and whatever you want. But just raise your hand and my assistant, Brooke, will bring the microphone to you.
So I typed in an address, right, up here. This is where I'm going to do my open house at. So I just typed it in. I've got a drop down here, so I'm going to find the one that matches. And I'm going to come right over here where it says show on the map. So here's the map. And I'm going to select all. So this shows me where that house is, right here, the little square. It tells me I've got 387 results in here. I'm going to add this to my cart. And now I'm going to name it, right? Because you're going to have maybe 3 or 4. You may have a few of them that you want to go back and look at. You can name it whatever you want to name it, as long as you know what that is. Open house this weekend, the street name, the community name, whatever you want to do in there.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a limit to the number of things that you can do here in Remind? Because there is in RPR.
So you can get 10,000 properties. So if you have a couple of areas, if you go big and you want to get a whole community where there's 3,000 people, just know that that cuts into the number that you're looking at.
Now, when you put in
Wait for the microphone.
Oh.
an address,
Gotta wait
Stand
for the
by.
microphone, Stuart.
when you put in an address, are you automatically going to get all the people who are in the subdivision?
I put in the address, and when I went to the map and I said select all, it gave me everybody in that community. Now, not everybody in Piccoli Ranch, there's over 3,000 people. It was that community where that address was located, which there's a little over 300 people in there.
Oh, so that might be a subdivision amongst other subdivisions.
Right, like in Piccoli Ranch, there's a bunch of we got Polo Greens, you got the Summit, you've got, I think, a Canyon Ridge in there. So those are all little separate pockets inside there, yes. So I've named it, and I'm going to add those properties to my cart. Says they all got added. So now if I come to the left here to my carts, my Summit is right here. I'm going to click on this little square here. I want to select them all, right? I want everybody in there in that spreadsheet. And now I'm going to hit the export button. I'm going to name it. And I get to choose my columns. So how many of you, when you've gotten reports from your title companies, because I know how many columns there are, there's like 47. And some of them you don't care about. Elevation, taxation. So I try to clean those up when I order those to send to you, because I know that means like diddly squat, nothing. But when you go in here, you can pick the columns you want. So if there's certain things you don't really care about, you want to get on the phone, you just want to be able to reach out to the people, you don't have to pick those columns if you don't want to. So there's usually 5 or 6 columns that are always columns that I'm pretty sure if you're going to reach out to somebody in some form or fashion, you'd want to have those columns with that information. So I'm going to come right here where it says select my columns. We obviously want the property address, right? If you're going to call or email, you want to reference the property address. So we'll take the property address. Owner information, that's something that you want to have is the owner information. Mail address, right? It could be an absentee owner. So just because that's got the property address, you'd obviously want to be able to reach the absentee owner wherever he lives. Absentee status, right? Is it owner occupied? Is it not? It'll tell you if it's a corporation that owns it, right? A lot of agents, if they see that a corporation owns it, depending on how many properties they own, they kind of skip over it, right? Like if Progressive Real Estate owns 497 properties in here, you're probably not going to reach out to them because they got it covered, right? So estimated value, right? That might be something when you're talking to them on the phone that you kind of want to have an idea about. The cell score, bedrooms, bathrooms, that may be stuff that you don't care about, right? I want them to know I'm having an open house. I want emails and phone numbers. I want to be able to know something about their ownership, how they occupy the property. But you can see through here that there are just a ton of different columns if you chose to have them all in here. The MLS ID number, if it was listed. days on the market if it was on the MLS. These homes that you're looking at in here, they don't have to be on the MLS. Nothing has to be listed, right? You're just putting in the address. However, you could put that in here and it would give you information if it was currently listed or not, and the information about that. You can.
I'm going to use the microphone. So I want to say something about the cell score, because this is really the best thing about Remine, in my opinion. They have ranked every single person who owns property in Las Vegas on a basis of 0 to 100 by how likely they are to sell their house in the next 6 months. Would that be useful to anybody? Yeah. So Marie used to call them low-hanging fruit. I'd say, okay, send me the low-hanging fruit for this neighborhood that I just sold a house in. That's the only people I'm going to target when I send out my just sold, so that those people are going to be more likely to sell. They'll be more likely to call me, so my money isn't just spent, my money is invested in further business down the road. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys know about that. It's pretty easy to figure out what it is. You just put it in your column. She went through, I heard her say that. That's why I just wanted to interject. Sorry.
That's okay.
There you go.
And the title companies, if you're asking that, they can get you the most likely to sell. So a lot of it is based off the same algorithm, right? They look to see that there's no mortgage on the property. They see how long they've been in the property. So those are two of the bigger factors with respect to determining that score or determining that most likely to sell level, depending on that information. So we've got our info here, right? Now you can make those your default settings. So if you decided that these are the things that I want every time I do one of these, pick your columns. You could pick them all if you wanted to, and then just make those your default settings. So every time you go in to do one, you don't have to pick those columns every time. So I'm not going to do that on here. So we're now going to export it. Takes a few minutes. We'll get a little note up here that says it's ready to download. Do, 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 do. Don't quit your day job. I know you're all wanting to say it.
Well, at least we knew what you were trying to say.
Well, there you go. Do any of you currently now send out emails to areas before you do anything? Under contract, obviously just sold, probably you could do a postcard with, but under contract or just listed, it's really tough right now if you're trying to do some marketing with that stuff because they get sold so quickly. But getting emails enables you to send a flyer out, which is free, and the emails are free. Well, you pay in your dues, but you know what I'm saying. But that way you can at least get something out to them quickly without having to worry about, by the time they get my just listed postcard, it's already sold.
I think the tough thing is to get out mass emails without it going to spam.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's going to be, and that is probably something that I don't know that anybody can really, you know what I mean? I don't know that there's a workaround really being a business doing a bulk email. I don't know that there's really a good workaround unless you
Actually is, if you don't mind.
stand by.
Most CRMs are now set up so that you are protected against that. In other words, if you get a hard bounce, it won't go against your score, so that, I know with us, it's Realty Juggler is what I use, and we are constantly cleaning our database because you send things out. Maybe I'll send out 150 and, we're only going to send 110 because these other 40 came back last time as a hard bounce. So any CRM, I'm pretty sure, I don't know about the board CRM. Do you know, Janet? But it's something that I'm sure Janet would find out for you if you were interested in knowing more, but that would be a solution for, I'm sending out this bulk mail and I'm getting all this, and then so now you're spam and you can't send anything out. So
Prospect, which is part of the board.
yeah.
They won't allow you to send more than 100 at a time, and I think they're trying to alleviate that issue.
Right, so they're keeping it to 100 at a time to alleviate the issue with the spam blockers. Yeah, so it's something worth investigating.
So if you're using your CRM, maybe check that. If you've not been doing a lot of it, you've got one, that's great, your people are in it, but maybe you're not doing much with it, just maybe check that and make sure and see if they've got that limit as well when they do that. So it popped up here, and I was waiting for Linda to finish, and where did it go?
Sorry. Probably unsaved.
I don't know. Where did it go?
Try using your back button. No?
No, but that's okay. We'll just click on these again real quick since I didn't have a ton of them. And now you know when that pops up, you better click on that download quickly.
It's probably underneath there.
It could be. It could be. So if anybody is doing any of this after today, tomorrow, over the weekend, next week, if you want to think about it, if you want to sit down and we'll sit together, do the address, go in, help you export it. If you've got a CRM that you guys use and you want to import that into there, we can help you do that. So I know sometimes watching it here is super easy, but then when you go sit down on your own, you're like, oh, where did we say to go to do that? So, yeah. Yeah, I've got my cards here. So this week, over the weekend, if you're trying to do it at home, I can walk you through it on the phone. Not a big deal. Sure. I'm all over it, Stuart. All right, I'm downloading. Hurry up before it goes away.
Came up again. Probably didn't take as long.
No, it probably didn't. Well, I don't know why it did that.
Probably because of the wall here.
You should be able to just pull into Excel and see what it's a CSV file for Excel.
Do what?
You should be able to import it into Excel.
Yeah, but it's looking like gibberish from here. Isn't it?
It is looking like gibberish.
Yeah, that's heavy duty computer talk, gibberish.
Gibberish, yep, we're on it.
Folderol and fiddly-dee. Fezziwig?
WYSIWYG.
WYSIWYG.
What you see is what you get. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago? Yeah.
Gigo, remember that one?
No.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Gigo, yes, sure.
All right, well, I'm not sure why.
We've gotten as far as we can, and Marie will be happy to help you. Her cards are right up here.
Yeah, I'm not sure why this isn't opening up like a normal spreadsheet does, because it truly does. Generally, when you get it, you'll need to open up your columns because they'll be all kind of crushed. You won't be able to see them very well. But you will have owner's first email, second owner email, so if it's a husband and a wife, and you'll have phone numbers. You might not have emails for every one of them, but you wouldn't have gotten emails for all of them from your title company either because we can't find them all.
Does it delineate between the mobile or cell?
I don't believe this one does. I will tell you, the title companies, when they do give you a farm, it will typically have mobile or unknown. I don't think this specifies, and there wasn't a little button in the drop-down to specify if it's a mobile or a landline, but most of the title company farms that you get, it does tell you if it's a mobile or a landline that we get from there. So I apologize, this is showing up as it is, but it typically is an actual Excel spreadsheet. So you'll be able to get, again, address, owner information, first owner, second owner, email, phone. Email and phone weren't even a part of the drop down when we picked our columns. They're just automatically in there. So you never have to worry about making sure you click the email phone tab. They're automatically going to pull those two things. So again, your title company, we're all able to help you do that. I'm happy to help you sit down and kind of get your area, put in the address, pull up the area, export it, save it, put it into your own CRM. And so if you guys want to do that next week, the end of this week, if you're thinking about that, or just call me. Like I said, if you're in the middle of it at home, I can walk you through if you get stuck somewhere on how to export it or where's the cart at. So just holler if you need me to help you do that. So this part is getting all your information to farm, right? Because now you're going to go out and try to get those listings. And now when you get the listing, the RPR piece is what you can use when you're doing that piece of it. So I'm going to switch it over now.
Marie, I want to say something before you switch it over.
Okay, stand by.
Here, let me do the switch switching while you, and Shelley's actually going to go next.
Oh, okay. So now Remind. So I'm on the MLS board, and we track everything. I mean, if you click on Remind and you stay 25 seconds, it's tracked, and I get a report every month. Unfortunately, the usage for Remind is really, really low. And a lot of people on the board of MLS, probably shouldn't tell you this, but they did not want to renew their contract because of the low usage, which is the only one I know where you can get all these emails and you can get all these phone numbers. So we're on a 1-year contract. I can't tell you when it ends, but if you want it to stay around, you need to start using Remind and clicking on it, or it's going away. I can't tell you. That's proprietary information on our contracts.
Get on it.
Okay, and our own Shelley Panzarella from Prosperity Lending is next.
Thank you. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Tony's going to help me out too. But how many of you saw the list reports meeting? Okay, if you didn't get a chance, that was a deep dive into list reports, how to get yourself set up. How many of you have list reports today? Okay, a few. So I use it for marketing, but I want to show you what Homebot really does, because this is a great way for our past clients, but I've actually started to utilize it for our new clients, or for our lead gen opportunity as well. And so if you'll go into the packet, there's a packet that says the top 10 Homebot hacks. So when we dive in here, let me show you what the original screen looks like. Okay. So when you sign up, the first thing you're going to do is get your profile and all of that good stuff put together. You'll put in your past clients typically will go in here, and then you can actually set it up where your buyers go in there. I'm going to walk you through what it looks like right now. You can actually sort inside of this category with whether you want homeowners or buyers, based off of interest rates and based off of if you want to see equity positions on them. So you can sort specific to whatever the interest rate. Maybe you're looking for a client who has a higher interest rate, or maybe you're looking for just equity position of a client. So these would be on your current homeowners. They don't have to be homeowner, these are your past clients, or they can actually be part of that farm. So if you pull off of the Remind and you've got your own farm list, or you get your farm list from your title company, then you will be able to download this inside of Homebot, and then you'll have this broken out based off of your homeowners and then your buyers. Does this make sense to everybody? Any questions on that? And then how you search, alphabetize, value of loan, equity position, where the current loan balance is, and then, of course, for their interest rate.
Would you do me a favor and
Yeah.
show them how, if you click on one of those names, it'll show you their activity?
Yeah. So the number one reason I love this tool is, so you'll see here in a 30-day performance, this is how many homeowners or home digest we've sent, how many have been open, and how many have actually been viewed. How many of you have marketed your clients and you know exactly how many times your client has looked at your marketing material? That's right. It rarely, I've sent out, direct mailers. We do a lot of lead gen on social media. This has been the best way for us to have the visibility around what our clients are looking at. So you'll see that they opened them, and then 53% of them have actually viewed them. Then on a daily basis, you get this activity feed. So here you'll see my client, Michael Mahoney, viewed a home. So if this were me and I were a realtor, now I'm on the lending side, so I'll just typically pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I just wanted to check in with you. But maybe this is a trigger for you. This was a minute ago. Kind of creepy if you call them like, hey, I saw that you're looking at this house. You ready to, what's going on? But maybe if you say, hey, I was just thinking about you. I just wanted to see how you're doing. How are things going with the family? Maybe this is a great opportunity for you to engage with a client when you know that they're looking to engage with you in some way, right? Why else are they coming on here to look at a home? Because they want to go out shopping for maybe a home? They're not grocery shopping, right? They're actually looking at a house. The other thing here, so This will actually tell you if they're buyers as well. It'll tell you if they're looking at specific markets. You can go directly into their account to see what area that they're looking at. So the reason this is a great tool is, one, because you can see when they're engaging with you, but you can also see what they're looking at as well. I know you guys have MLS, and they'll like all the things on there, but does it tell you the moment that they like it, or does it just tell you the home that they like? It's the moment. Does it come out like this though, or you have it? It's basically you have to go into the account. And the other great tool on this, so what Homebot is a monthly digest that goes out, and I know you have, I think it's called eProperties or eProperty Watch. Okay. So this is what it looks like to our clients. So your information is going to be up here on the top, right? This is, again, my dashboard. It tells them what the value is. Now, I get a lot of realtors that say, yeah, but what if that's really not their value? That's perfect. So this is a great opportunity for you to go in here and tune or fine-tune the value, right? So what I tell my agents all the time is make this as an opportunity for you, whether you're doing it on a weekly basis or when they're coming in to their site, like if you just saw Michael Mahoney, go in here, do a quick CMA for them, and then call them and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know.
You don't even have to call them. Let me just
Sure.
tell you about something that just happened to me the other day. I had this client come up in my usual progression, and I was thinking about, calling him, and I thought, well, I always look at Homebot, see how active they've been, because this will also tell you if they haven't looked at a digest in 3 months. Now Homebot takes them off the monthly and puts them on a quarterly, because obviously you're bugging them too much if they're not looking at it. But this particular client had just been sent a digest the day before, and 1 minute, it was kind of like what just happened, so it made me think of it. 1 minute before, he had looked at it, and I went, okay, I just did this CMA for him because I'm about to send this email. Let me just go into Homebot and change the value that's there with my new value on the CMA, and I'll send him the email I was going to send him, like I don't know what's going on over here, saying, oh, do you understand your house has gone up like twice as much since I sold it to you? And he looked at that CMA before I could even send the email. So this really works. And I've had calls from Shelley saying, do you know so-and-so wants to refi? And we get together and make that happen.
Yeah, the best thing about this is because when your clients are needing to communicate or wanting to communicate with you, right? We're consumers. How many of you have been on Facebook or you've been on Instagram? Do you have a question, Brian? Yeah.
Oh, take the mic.
Oh, the digest? So what I just showed you is what the monthly digest is. Homeowners and buyers. Buyers will get this as well, but it won't be this is specific to their address. A buyer is going to get like a zip code or a specific area that they've determined once they've come in as a lead. Yeah, but they'll get basically the same information. So they'll say, instead of this specific home, they'll say, hey, the area that you're looking at is valued at, it'll give them a range. But they'll get the exact same digest. Yeah. So the reason that I was saying, it's not a form of retargeting, but it definitely is a form where you can basically be engaging with your clients when they're looking at the things, right? And all of a sudden your information is popping up. One of the other tools that I love Homebot is for the lead gen. So how many of you do open houses? Okay. I know it's a little warm to do open houses, but let us go here to share. So it creates its own landing page. So for your clients, and one thing that I've just done is I've actually downloaded this specific site onto my phone or my iPad. So imagine if you're an open house and a nosy neighbor comes in and they just want to know what the value of their home is. You just type it in here. That information goes. It's going to lead you to. Do you have an address that you want to add in here or input in here to show what the lead looks like when it goes through?
Well, sure. Let's use the same one that we're using this afternoon.
Okay.
It's on Constantinople.
So 7629 Constantinople.
No, it's one of the, sorry about that, Shelley.
Constantinople. Hopefully I'm spelling it right. No?
PLE.
PLE. Oh. There it is. So it pops up. Okay. So it tells us information. To unlock the free report, they put in their email address. Guess what you've just gotten from them? You just got a lead, right? Oh, you've gotten their contact information or you got their email. You can do this exact same thing, just pushing this out to social media sites, and it's a beautiful landing page just like this with your information on here, right? You can share it on social. How many of you have web pages that you can embed a widget on to put this? So you can do this exact same widget onto your web page and have this post up there. The social media stuff is super simple as well. You can go in here and it gives you the easy push into Facebook. And this would be the comment that you could put in here. Whoops, I don't have Facebook set up.
So Shelley, is this
Yeah.
designed to send them a market valuation? Is that what it is?
Basically, yeah, that's what the digest is. But it also shares where the market is, talks a little bit about what it would look like if they wanted to pay more interest on their home. It'll show them what a 15-year mortgage would look like. Honestly, it's for a homeowner, it's to intrigue them, right? There's information about, like, if they were to rent the house, what that would look like. Everything through there, if the client had a question, there's an easy click-through button that goes right to you. It goes right to you via email. And I think they're actually going to set it up for text soon. I saw that the integration is on here as well so that you can get it texted to you once your client is moving, or doing things, not moving, but actually active. Yeah, great question. So the reason, so when you're in here also, when you're going through and you've got your farm list, so whether you want to add your clients individually, or let's just say you take that list broken out exactly how Marie had mentioned, you can drop them in whether they're homeowners or buyers, and then you've built your database, right? And then that is your farm area, and that you'll be able to see exactly what you're seeing from your past clients as well as your farmed area. Does that make sense to everybody? So you can sign up for this. Tony is actually a representative as well. He signed up with Homebot. There's a free version. When you go through it with one of us as a lender, you'll actually be able to go all the way through and get the buyer leads and as well the share on social media.
So if we want to utilize Homebot,
Yeah, Tony or myself. Yep, and I think Gabby is also using it. There's a free version of it, but to be attached with us, it's a $25 per month. And I mean, truthfully, I think it's paid itself just in, I mean, from a refinance standpoint, for sure, for us, it's only taken one transaction for you. But how often are you communicating with your clients when they want to talk to you, right? And so this is a monthly, like us as consumers, monthly, but the moment that you're interested in figuring out, and it's once, right? You see something that pops up and you're like, oh, let me check what my value is. You know that they're now interested in looking at their home or value or whatever the case may be.
I never paid attention. Is Homebot one of those boxes on the matrix on MLS?
No.
No, that's what I thought.
Yeah, this is separate. So
Pretty much has to go through a lender.
it does, yeah. Yeah, and I mean the database, it's mining for your database, but whether it's your personal database or a farm database or an open house database, right? All of those are your database opportunities. It will put this in here and it'll provide them with a monthly, that monthly digest.
And Shelley,
Yeah.
do you know that it also sends a month, I don't need a microphone, I'm sure everybody can hear me. It also sends a monthly email to me saying who's been most active this month. In fact, I just got mine yesterday. So you can go through and say, oh, I didn't realize that they were, and I'll call people and they'll be like, oh, I hit the wrong button, I'm really sorry. But at least then I have a reason to call and talk to them, and pretty soon then I'm in front of them again. So it's always just good to stay in front of your past clients.
For sure. So something else that they've just added is a personal video. How many of you like to send videos to your clients?
Of your petrified.
Yeah. Well, if you are, Beta will do some great videos of you, and then you can actually embed them through your YouTube, or you can go through BombBomb and submit, and you can send this out. holidays, right? The holidays are about to approach. What if you got on here and just did a quick, happy Thanksgiving or happy holidays, and you send this? You can send it directly to all of your home buyers or homeowners and your buyers. And it's a quick and easy attachment, whether you go through YouTube or you go through, where is it at here? Or you go directly through BombBomb. What else? We showed the lead gen. Oh, the one thing I would definitely say as well is adding this to your phone so that you have it, because you'll also get the notifications on there. That's something that is new. And then the other thing, so Homebot, how many of you have heard of CoreFact? CoreFact is a direct mailer. What you can do, typically it'd give you this code, right? It would give you a code, and when your client, or if whoever got the postcard wanted to get their value, they'd type in this code, and all of a sudden you get this lead. It now has a QR code. Everybody, like, QR codes are like the thing, right? Easy enough to do. So the moment they post up their QR code, that lead gen site that we saw that says, do you want to know what the value of your home is, pops up, and that's directly through CoreFact. So they've worked together to partner with Homebot so that your Homebot code goes through that QR code. So that's one other option. The other thing that you can do if you're looking to do, sorry, Linda, I know I have 5 minutes, right?
Take your time. Does anybody want her to stop?
Are you guys okay? Okay. So if you guys want to add this to your own QR code, you can actually go here and copy the link. And if you already have marketing material today that has a QR code, you can apply this to our QR code. If you need help figuring out how to do something like that, maybe you don't want to go through CoreFact, maybe at your open house you want to put this on one of your flyers, you can put a quick QR code and then send them to one of these links. So that's something that's new that they've actually brought out there. The 10 hacks.
Can you change the market value that's being sent to them, or keep it out completely and just show them activity in the area?
Well,
Then the reason why I ask,
Yeah.
there's so many sites that have such a different variation of what that market value is.
yep.
So that's.
Yeah. So I always tell our clients that it's pulled from, different factors, like 6 different factors or whatever that data sources. But my number one data source is my realtor. So I would send them back to you, Tim, as the expert, right? Yeah. So I would tell them, hey, what you see is multiple data sources pulling in this number, but I just did a market analysis, whatever you want to call it, and here's what I'm showing where your home is today, because you're then the advisor and you're the one that's giving them the accurate information. And then I would go in there and update it. And that way it looks like you did your evaluation specifically for them, and it dates it, right? So if the market shifts in a couple months, up or down, or whatever the case is, they at least knew like today that you did this evaluation for them, and that's what the market value was based on comps in that area specific to them. Does that answer that question? Okay, perfect. Tony, do you have anything to add to this?
I do, just a little bit.
Sorry.
Let me use the old microphone. I've been a part of Homebot for about a year. I've been using the service, and I fully endorse everything that Shelley said, everything that Linda mentioned. They send me a report on a weekly basis, which again scouts or summarizes, if you like, activity for all the clients in my CRM. Just as an example, the last 3 weeks I've had 39, 40 and 41 clients go in and access the system. Okay, and obviously that tends to lead to inquiries. How much equity do I have? Should I consider selling? If I can, some of the inquiries that I get are more geared towards an agent, and obviously I'll pass them on to the realtor at that time. But some of them, interest rates, obviously, equity. What are my options? I can address those myself. But clearly, this does, the more agents in there, the bigger the CRM, it's going to create more inquiries. There's no doubt about that. But it's a great system. This is more than paid for itself with me in the last year. It's been really good, really good.
My question is, you mentioned that there was a free version and a version 1 to 3. What's the difference? What's the difference between the versions?
So the buyer version and the social share is you have to be partnered with a lender for that. So the free version, you can download your contacts. You can download your contacts up to 500 clients, and then anything every 100 over that is going to be $10. So I mean, I've had CRMs. I don't know anything that cheap, honestly, and that intuitive when it comes to a CRM. You know, so the free, I would try it out, honestly. If you want that, I think you can
I don't
just
have a
send the
problem
invite.
paying, I'm just trying to figure out.
That's
what
the number one
difference is.
difference. It's the buyer lead. So this is what it looks like as a buyer digest. It just kind of tells them based on the area that they originally signed up for and what it looks like based off of that. But that's ultimately the main difference, is that the buyer aspect and then the social share.
The last thing that I would add is I love the fact that it will generate the information to show you the number of activities or the number of times the borrower has accessed the system, but it will also break things down by interest rate to show you who has the highest interest rate. And obviously, they're the ones that are most interested in refinancing. So there's a variety of different tools within this system. I'm not even so sure that I've skirted the surface, to be quite honest, but there are a lot of options, without a doubt. It's a great tool.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested in having access to this, just let either Tony or myself know, and we'll send you the invite to even take a look at it. And I feel like we could do another, like list reports, we did a deep dive for that, so then we can go in and walk you through the setting up the profile, figuring out, getting your farm list, and then figuring out how to upload it into the database, and then get you guys started.
It's very easy to do.
Yeah. Any questions for either of us? Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. And I'll bring Linda. Thank you so much.
I think what we'll do right now is just take a quick 5-minute break so anybody can do whatever they want to do, get some drinks or food or whatever. Beta, if you want to put a pause on it, that'd be awesome. 15 minutes. So if you want to get back and sit down, then we'll get started again. It won't take that long for this. It's not like the other classes that I've done about this. And I'll talk about the other stuff that's in the book here. RPR has a newsletter, and so I've included the latest newsletter in here. It's interesting to talk. They talk about how many realtors are using the CMA now as opposed to the realtors that were using it before. They talk about the state of the listing presentation, pretty much what we're here for today. And then the last page before all the notes pages are the featured webinars that are coming up. So anybody can just go on your main site. Do you all know how to get to RPR and Remine? It's back here on the GLVAR. Instead of going here where you would do a search, you just hit the cute little balls. Just go for the balls, and that'll take you right in there, and this is Remine right next to it. So I've already done that. This is the front page of that, and you can see we're on the home page. You can do research about a property or a neighborhood. Let me just start here real quick. You can do a neighborhood search, school searches. If your clients want to know more about a school that's in an area where they're going to buy a house, you can send them a report about it so that they have all of that, et cetera, et cetera. There's a commercial side to this as well. If you notice over here, there's a button if you're into commercial real estate and you've been approved through the company to sell commercial real estate. You just click here and you're in the commercial page. It's pretty easy to do. It's just a toggle switch. So, and you're going to look at public records when you're into this. You know, all these are drawdowns. Public records are going to be all the sales, not just what's on the MLS. If you want to do some research about a property, marketing, if you want to send out postcards, you can do a mailing list similar to what you do in Remine. This isn't necessarily as CRM prone, but what you're doing then is you're just saying, okay, I want to send a postcard to this neighborhood. I'm not going to do that today because it'll take too much time. But you just can, wherever you want, you can draw a hexagonal line, whatever you want to send it to, and find all those properties so you can send them a postcard. Reports, as Janet said, there are a bunch of different reports. From property reports, the mini property report is probably the shortest. What I typically do when I'm going to do a CMA is what we're going to do today. We go to a valuation workbook first so that we can take a look. Oh, I know what I wanted to do first. Go back, Linda, stop. The first thing you're going to see on this homepage is you can put in an address. I've already put it in so that we could save a little bit of time. And when you put that in, you see the property comes up, if you're looking up there, and the property summary. Oh, I don't like to. Okay, which way do we go? There we go. So this property, if you remember, when she had Homebot up, I saw 270. I looked because I knew we'd be in here. Right now, the realtor value model is actually refined. RVM is the refined value that they use, like 5 different sources, not just the MLS. They use the national, and they use the assessor's page, and they put all that together and they come up with the value. Well, the market that we're in right now, what I've found with RPR is that it's not as accurate as it used to be. I used to be able to be out with a buyer showing property, and we'd drive by a house and they'd say, how much is that one? And what's it worth? What's that number that you use? So I'd put it in my RPR because it's an app on your phone too. So I put it in and I'd say, well, they've got it listed at 300 and it's only worth 265. So if we do like that one, then we probably don't need to pay 300. Well, you can't do that now. This market's different. So what I'm finding is if it says 275, 660, it's probably worth 280 or 290. And we're going to discover today if this RPR value is as accurate. Our comps that we've got in our market are going to show a better, more accurate value. So if you'll pull out the page that I did for you with It's got an MLS, I've got mine all over the place. If it's got an MLS at the top for Constantinople, this property that we're looking at right here. And I don't know if they've done any improvements to this or not. If you're going on a listing presentation, you know how usually you ask, well, what's your loan amount? What else do you have? What have you done to the property? Well, now, if you can be more specific and say, Janet, when did you put that backyard patio in that's so beautiful with the stucco integration, and how much did you pay for that? When was that? Last year, May of last year? And you paid what, $15,000 for it? So, I know. So you can go in here to refine value, and you go down. When you want to go down, go up. And you go down here, and you go down to other, and you type in, oh yes, I'm going to do well with this. Okay, I'm not quite as bad as Janet, but did you say it was June of last year? May, okay. So you type in May and 2020, and you said how much again? And you have those receipts so that if we need them when I go and take this to an appraiser, it's going to be fine. You'll give me those receipts, right? Somewhere. Yeah. So don't worry. You'll have time to find them. About a week or so before we sell the house. Ha, ha, ha. So then you put this in. Now, oops, I've only got 1,500 in there. One more zero. I want everybody to watch this number right here and this number up here. So I'm going to add that. And it adds 14,250. I said 15,000. Why do you think, Stuart? You tell me why you think it went down to 14,250.
Wear and tear?
It is actually a third-party company that estimates what the depreciation value is. And I have found from using this as much as I do, I want to know who's going to tell me what holds its value the best. We've all heard it, but it's not what you think. I just got to tell you.
It's outdoor patios, outdoor entertainment area?
Nope. It is flooring and paint. Is that crazy? It's not a brand new kitchen. It's not a brand new bathroom. They hold their value, but not as well as just putting in new flooring. I put in new flooring in this house for $15,000, and it was still worth $15,000 8 months later. Other things, you put in a new roof. I thought, oh, that'll add value. We did it at the same time. It was a $10,000 cost. It was depreciated to, I think, $5,500. So, it's not something that we make up, and you can tell your clients this is just the way it is. So I'm going to actually reset this because I don't want that in there, but that's just showing you. And you can also refine value. Let's say it is the nicest house in the neighborhood. You can change whether it's a hot market now, so we can add this. And if you look up, up is down, down is up. I'm going to be okay. See how it added $9,000 because it's a hot market. So this is probably a lot closer, but I'm just going to leave that there because it is a hot market right now, even though it's slowing down. So now we're going to go into the CMA, and we're just going to say that the facts are right for this property. Okay, fine. Here's the facts. Up to go down. Sorry. Mumbling to myself. Now what we're going to do is search for comps. So we're going to say find comps. And now we have two choices. We can add a known property, or we can just search the area. Because RPR is not as accurate as it was, Stuart, you would say the same thing because I know you've been using this a while. We're going to add comps, and what I would suggest that you do when you're doing this is before you go into RPR, go in as though you're doing a regular CMA, and if you're not sure how to do a regular CMA, I'm sure one of the brokers would be happy to walk you through that. But what we're going to do today is kind of a CMA. So you've got listings sold that are similar to this property, and I would like us to look at this, and first of all, who can tell me which of these, I believe there's 6 properties, we should use? Let's get it down to 3. Who has a volunteer of which property they think is going to be a good comp for this house?
One that's identical,
Which one do you think is identical?
March Brown.
March Brown, that's a good one. Let's break it down a bit further. Let's look at things that an appraiser would look at. Is an appraiser going to value a one-story against a one-story as much as a two-story against a one-story? Or is he going to look at, if it's a one-story, they got to be a one-story to be a good comp? Would you say that? I see Brian nodding back there. So we can eliminate number 9 if you look at your amount there, even though that's a recent sale, because I'm sure, would anybody agree with me that the last 3 months has been a lot hotter than the last 6 months? And so if it sold 6 months ago, we probably can eliminate those from our list here. So that would eliminate number 1, or I should say number 7 and number 12. So now we've got left 8, 10, and 11. Do you agree with me that those are what we've got left? Okay, so let's then take a look at which one do you think is going to be the most similar. They're all one story. The 1150, I think, is really close to this square footage, isn't it, if I remember? That's back in my front. Yeah, 1110. So there's one 1110. I don't think that it's the same neighborhood, but it's probably the same builder. And the lot size, I believe, is a little bit smaller. Lot size isn't that important when you're under 6,000 square feet to an appraiser, but it's still something that's important. So are the number of bedrooms. If we had a 2-bedroom in here, we probably would eliminate that. So I think we've got our 3. I've got them in a little different order, but I agree. March Brown is probably right in there. Does anybody else have one that they want to fight for to get in there? No? Yes? So we're going to add a known property. And then here's a really cool thing. You can only do one at a time. I don't like the fact that you can only do one at a time. But other than that, this one on Medford Falls, I'm going to add that. And it'll ask me, were you talking about this one in Ponchatoula, Louisiana? No, we weren't. We're in Las Vegas. So here's that property. And that could be the only one. So this is confirming that that is the one that we wanted. The next one would be 2315515. Yep. Looks like it. We're going to add this one. It'll show up right over there. And then the last one, what's that number? The one on 2307739.
Linda, I was talking to an appraiser.
Uh-huh.
And he said when you're dealing in an age.
Wait, this needs a microphone.
I was talking just recently with an appraiser. Now, these are pretty much all the same lot size, but if you're dealing in an age-restricted community, he said lot size has no value because people don't want to take care of the yard anyway.
Right.
So.
Very true. The other thing to be careful about is gated versus non-gated. So, for instance, if you have a potential listing in Summerlin right up by Sun City, then you're not going to be able to compare that with one in Sun City, even though it is the same square footage because of the difference in the type of community. So be aware of that when you're looking for your comps. It's harder now than it used to be, again, because you can't just take, oh, that's that neighborhood, let me pull those comps. It used to be easy to pull comps. I've got a model match here and a model match there. Now if you can find a model match anywhere within a mile, then you're in good shape, which is, again, one of those things I'm sure you'll agree, Janet, that an appraiser will say. Stay within a mile if you can. Stay within the time frame if you can. If you can't, you can go back further if there's nothing sooner. Fine. If you need to go out further, fine, but only after you've looked at, you have to find model match if you possibly can, and then within a mile, within 2 miles, within 3 months, within 6 months, et cetera, going further as you go. But I think having 3 comps is enough, and I think we all agree. Now I'm going to update the valuation and close, and oh, look there. It's saying that the comp analysis says that it's worth about $310,800. he had it on the market, what did he have it on the market for? Last year, he had it on the market at $265. So I think having a tenant is not such a bad thing. He's going to sell it for more money. So now I'm going to create, now if I'm not happy with this, oh, it's pretty easy. You just go clear all and start over. If you're not happy with the comps, now I'm going to adjust the comps too, because I want to be able to show that, oh, look, this first one is, where does it say? Yeah, this is 5.46 miles away. Well, that's probably not as good as we thought it was, that one on Medford Falls. So I can, instead of showing this first, I'm going to show this third. It seems like it's the furthest away. When I'm rating these by 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, however many you have, you want to make sure that the closest one is the one that you have first. So this needs to be number 1. And then this is number 2. Do you see where I'm talking about? They're all outside that 1 mile radius, but that's because there just isn't anything right there on Constantinople. Is there, Brooke? She lives on Constantinople. That's how I picked the street. Anyway, so that's what these are. And we're going back now. We're up to go down. Come on, Linda. Update valuation and close. I didn't make any adjustments. If you happen to know, Stuart, that house over on Medford Falls is just a dump, you can subtract from that value, because then it'll be more like your value, or add to the value of your subject property.
Isn't there a line there you could just go to poor?
Pardon me?
Didn't I see a line there that said poor, fair, and excellent as far as?
Yes, there probably is poor, fair, and excellent. So you do a lot deeper dive if you're doing this in reality. I just want to show how you do it. So yes, there's a poor, adequate, fabulous, wonderful. Stuart would even live here. Those are the categories, right? So there you go. So we're going to create a report. Now, what kind of report do we want? We could do a valuation workbook. I like to do that because then I have a PDF program that I take out the pages that I don't want and I put the other ones, but we're not going to go through all of that right now. We're just going to do a mini property report for just the nonce. Now, you see my profile here. You're going to, if you haven't already, you set up your own profile so that you've got all of this in there. And then you can, if you wanted to, take out any of these pages. If you don't care about the AARP livability index, for instance, you can take that out. It doesn't have to be in your report. So, and I have a, where is it? Okay. I'm including my notes because then I have that in there, and I have a, there you go. I have a custom page. You can put as many custom pages as you want. My custom page is why do business with me? And it's right before the final page, which is always what's RPR. You'll see it in a minute when we do this. And I don't know if I have the microphone on. Does anybody know this computer well enough to know that? Okay, so now I'm running my report, and it's going to tell me, the reason I ask if the speaker's on is if you have your speaker on, it will ring a doorbell. I had to turn mine off because I have a beautiful part lab and part Cooley mix, and if that doorbell rings, he's forget about it. You can't hear yourself think. So I turned mine off, but it's kind of cool because when it's done, it goes ding dong. So you can display it now, or you can email it directly to your client if you want to. And I always CC to myself so that I have it. And then up here at the top, it's talking about reports. Oh, I'm going to turn it on. I'm turning on the doorbell. Knox isn't here. And is it there? Come on, how long do we have left? Oh, there it goes. And now I'm going to just download it so that we can take a look at it. And so you see their house and the beautiful Linda Stewart. And then you see that they had it listed at $265. The estimated value was $275, $660. The refined value, because the market's hot, was $284, $682. And our comp analysis turned to be $310.8. Now, if you look down further, you see this is the property, public remarks and public information. This is the map that shows right where the property is and the lot size, et cetera, et cetera. Here's that AARP thing. I don't know why they've decided that 89129 has to have an AARP livability factor, except that that's where I live. But I don't belong to AARP. Anyway, then property photos of that property when it was on the market, and not just that property, but you see the property history and the way the values have gone up and the legal description, who owns the property, et cetera, et cetera. This talks about the median sales price by square footage, all kinds of different reports that you don't have to have in there. But gee, if you're gonna go to a listing appointment and you've maybe done your own listing presentation, this is a nice thing to leave behind so that they know that you know all about that property. So then we're going into, there's that RPR page I told you about. It talks about how they come up with the value. And then of course, it says you gotta work with me. So, and obviously it would say that they've got to work with you if you were doing this yourself. So any questions? Because I'm done. Oh, good. Brad. Right.
I only missed how you got into that page.
Oh,
I came back late, I'm sorry.
all right. That isn't hard. You just go, where am I? Why am I, oh, there we go. GLVAR, right here. See the dots? And that same logo is on one of those pages if you wanted to take notes. So, and you can really, this, if you have done a lot of these like I have, you can go in and look at all your saved properties, all your reports. So I can just go right back to that one. I can go, et cetera, et cetera. I can do, as long as you download it, it will stay forever, but it'll only stay for 30 days if you don't download it onto your computer. So make sure you do that if you want to hold on to it. Any other questions? Boy, I guess I answered them all right. Oh, Brian again. Wait, here, hold on. Okay. I know, I'm just trying to do it for people at home.
I was just a little confused on the two, it was listed for 265, but then it says worth 282, but we got it 310.
Right, because using the other comps, we didn't make any adjustments on those. We didn't make any adjustments on the comps. If you had known more about those three properties and been able to do a deeper dive, you might have said, well, this one has, you know, they redid part of their garage, or they did this or they did that, and you can tell by those pictures what they've done, so you would make adjustments up or down based on that. But I would say it's probably, I mean, it's 1,100 square feet, but you know the market. 300,000 in that area, it's up in 89129. It's probably about right. So, any other comments, questions? Come on, I know you got one in there. No?
Remind is probably the best app.
Start over.
Would you say probably that Remind is the best app as far as what a house is actually worth?
I think it's a combination of Remind and RPR. I really do. But that's because I use RPR a lot more.
I know Tom always uses Remind.
Yeah, he does. I think it's good to use them both because, look, we saw 270 with Remind, 276 with this. I mean, if you priced it at 270, what do you think you could get for this house? Let's talk about that. What do you think you could get for this house?
The highest price.
Yeah. But based on what we just did, what do you think the price would be?
Can you pull the screen back up?
Yeah. Which screen do you want?
The one where you had the three value right there.
Let me just get off of this. There's Glenn Wild's name. Hold on. There they are.
I would go for
265 is
the,
where he had it listed.
yeah.
275, 660 is the value from RPR without anything else being done to it. 284, 682 is the refined value because the market's hot. And 310.8 based on those comps that we used.
I would use
They're
a
not right
310.8.
there, they're pretty much further away, so maybe we need to bring that down a bit. What do you think it's worth?
I'm going for the 310.8.
310.8. Okay, you just want to make the most money you can. I'm just going to go around the room.
3099.
3099.
I think you can list it at 310 and you'll most likely get 315 for it.
Okay, that sounds good. 310 and get 315?
I would say 310 as long as the others are in comparable subdivisions.
Sounds good.
Now, is this before you've actually looked at the house, gone into the rooms, looked in the front, looked in the
Yeah,
back?
yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Just, you know,
this
I
a-
won't go higher than this. If they want to list it above this, then I'm probably not going to take the listing or tell them that we're going to have to talk about it again in a week.
All right, because there could be a lot of things wrong with the inside of the house, and maybe it's worth 272.
What do you think? 272 is what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. But
Okay,
these
give me
are
a number, Stuart.
297.5.
All right, 297.5. He's the lowest so far. Is that right? Somebody keeping track? What do you think, Janet?
Okay, so I think there are a couple things to keep in mind, and I'm not screaming the sky is falling, the sky is falling. But I'm seeing a very subtle but definite shift in the market. And two things are telling me personally, I don't have a crystal ball, this. One is that I went for a whole year, and to my knowledge, my weak memory, I never ever signed an MLS price reduction. In the past 3 or 4 weeks, I'm signing at least one every day. Monday morning when I walked in the office, and I had looked at my phone and my emails when I got up at 5, but by the time I got to the office and opened my computer, I had 3 MLS price reductions to sign. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening. And there's a lender that I know. Her name is Lisa Foster. I don't know what company she works for, but I know her because she used to be very big and on the board with NARAB, and we are friends on Facebook. And on a Thursday, she made the comment on Facebook. She said, "Whoa, every appraisal we have gotten into our office this week is way below list price or sales price." And I'm not talking $2,000 or $3,000 below. I had one last week in this office. The appraisal came in $70,000 low.
In what price range?
500s.
Wow. 500s?
Yeah.
At 500s, I've seen that a lot lately.
70,000. So I'm just saying, without seeing the inside of the house. And the other thing I want to say too, just as me personally, but if you're going to do a listing presentation and you're taking a listing contract with you, do not ever walk in the door with the list price filled in. Yes, have it in the back of your mind. Do your presentation. But if you walk into my house and you say, well, I think your house should be put on market about $284, and if we're lucky, we'll get over bids at $310. And I would say, you haven't even seen my house. Don't you know I have gold-plated nails in the entire drywall in my house? So don't ever do that. Then you may say, hey, 310.8, and you walk in, and you've walked into a hoarding situation that hasn't been cleaned in 20 years. So I'm just saying. That can be handwritten in after you and the seller have had a long conversation after you've seen the house. And I'm sorry, that's more than you asked me.
Oh, that's exactly what I asked you for. Thank you. Now I'm going to ask the rest of you, now that you've heard Janet give her take on it, and I happen to agree with her, what do you think we should list it at?
So we were just saying that we would have to look at Zillow and Realtor because that's where our clients have already looked, right?
Okay.
So I think we'll probably go for 310 or something like that, but Zillow probably says 330, so that's what the client wants, right?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. What I do with this, I call this the Zillow or the Zestimate on steroids, because this is more accurate than Zillow, and it states that on that last page that I showed you, it shows you why. So these people that have been on Zillow, they've been doing this, you don't have to say to them, Zillow sucks. You show them this and they say, oh, Zillow kind of sucks. I've had my clients say that to me. You know, Linda, I think that Zillow really isn't very accurate. Well, I'll agree with you. Right. You know, that's a different thing than me walking in and saying, Zillow sucks. You're not going to get what you think you're going to get. You know, I mean, it's all, as I'm sure Janet would tell you, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the first question I always ask when I go in on a listing appointment is, what do you think your house is worth? And if they're like here, I'm scrambling in my brain, okay, how am I going to make this work? You know, so it really does depend on what they think. Your turn, ma'am.
I'm going to have to say somewhere between the 305 and 310.
Okay. So I think the general consensus is 310, but you guys aren't off the hook. What do you think?
What they said, 305.
305?
I'd
That
probably
was a cop-out, but that's all
It
right.
was. I would probably tell them, maybe not tell them, but discuss maybe 308, 309. That way you get more interest. People are going to pay a little more, but you'll get more people in.
Very good tactic.
I will go 295.
295. Going with Stuart. I know. What do you think, sir?
I think I'd still go for 310, just because that anything under that 400K range has got a lot of buyer activity for one. So
Would you coach your client on maybe an appraisal coming in low, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the first topics that comes out when it comes up to price. It's
Right.
like, listen, you're going to have to get beyond that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think?
Oh, I'm a new agent, so
okay. What do you think?
yes, I'm getting idea, and maybe 300.
300. That's a new one. Sounds good.
I'm with her on the
together.
Zillow.
Okay. All right. So I think the general consensus is that we don't know. Right? Somewhere between 280 and 310, which is exactly what it says there. Now, obviously, this came off the market in June. So that is probably not a real number. This is probably, I'd say it's somewhere between these. I was kind of surprised that it came in as high as 310. And I think we have to look at the, excuse me, the fact that those are further away from this house. And maybe get a map out and say, oh, look, this is over here where all those properties are going for 290 a square foot, where this is only 260. And that's the type of things that you need to do for it. Just a minute, Brian. You're always too far ahead of me.
What do you think? What would you list it for?
I would list it at 285. Unless they said they wanted 330. And then I'd list it at 310, and I'd have the conversation that, you know, if it doesn't sell for that, if we don't have offers within the first week, we need to talk about what that price is. So, but I would go for the 285, because then you can always go up. Yeah. All right, I think we're done, unless somebody else has a question. You're welcome.